Renzo, I've been trying to pick sort of good news or funny news to discuss with you in this program. Um, and today I want to talk about a news that we covered recently in our show News in Slow Spanish. I want to talk about the theft of the Kit Kat chocolate
Oh
cargo.
yes. The heist that went viral recently because it involved a shipment of Kit Kat chocolates in, I think it was on its way to Poland from Italy, right?
Yes, and I thought that was hilarious, but now I need your help because this show is just a Spanish phrase. And
Right.
in this show, every week we pick a Spanish expression to talk about the news and to explain the origin of that Spanish expression, but I could not think of any expression that would go well with this Kit Kat heist. What do you
Oh,
think?
well, there's a few options. There's a few options, but I have one in mind. I have one
Okay.
in mind. Okay, so for example, we could do something like al mal tiempo buena cara.
Okay, in the bad time, good face. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
that could
But
be.
but I don't think that one fits perfectly because it's more about attitude. It's about putting on a good face in the face of adversity, putting on a smile. But this is more about turning a negative situation into something advantageous or positive,
Exactly,
right?
because this is exactly what Nestle, the owner of KitKat, did.
Yes.
So they lost, I don't know how much money in that heist.
Okay, but before let me tell you my proposal for the phrase. For the just a Spanish phrase.
Okay.
Okay? Cuando la vida te da limones, haz limonada.
Oh, I say, you mean when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. But
That's right.
I say, cuando la vida te da limones, haz margaritas.
That's even better.
That's even better. But that's just me. Don't listen to this expression. The real one is cuando la vida te da limones, haz
Haz
limonadas.
limonada. So
That
what do
is
you think? Does that fit?
It's perfect because that is exactly what not only Nestle, but all the other companies did with this heist.
Well,
Okay,
first of all,
why?
what happened? What happened?
Okay,
And like Maria said, this is just a Spanish phrase. If you want the full, news analysis and of course delivered in Spanish at a pace that you can understand, check out our main program, News in Slow Spanish. But here in just a Spanish phrase, we have a little more fun in English and look at these expressions and how we use them. But this news, we need the context. What happened?
exactly. So, like, I think you know more the details of it. I know it's like tons and tons of Kit Kat
That's
chocolates
right, 12 tons.
were
To be exact.
stolen.
And not only that, it was like limited edition Kit Kat bars, the chocolate, which is like a wafer covered in chocolate, right? That were shaped like Formula One cars. So these were like special, like limited edition Kit Kat
I
bars.
did not know that part. Now I want one of those Kit Kats. And it's
Yeah,
funny because recently we
collector's
said,
items.
I do not like that kind of chocolate. We are two chocolate snobs.
Yes.
But hey, that's very interesting. Now I'm sure everybody wants to get their hands on some of those stolen Kit Kats.
Yes, and the story gets even better because it was kind of a heist fit for a Hollywood thriller because nobody got hurt, and that's part of the reason that it's a light-hearted story.
That's why I picked that story.
Yes, but apparently the thieves impersonated like
Police
police
officers,
officers, and they
exactly.
did like a side of the road inspection stop, safety stop, and ended up driving away with the trucks with
I love
12
it.
tons of chocolate.
I love it. What do you do with 12 tons of chocolates?
I don't know.
So I don't know what the robbers did, but I do know what Nestlé did. And what Nestlé, the company that makes Kit Kat, did is exactly hacer limonada de los limones.
Uh-huh.
Del cielo cayeron limones and they made lemonade. Hicieron limonada.
That's right.
Because they use that news to congratulate the robbers on how good taste they have. And then other companies also started using that trend that became viral, talking about the Kit Kat heist, to promote their brand. Like I think
Yes.
British Airways said that, like, oh, they're flying with some cargo of chocolate. Domino's offered a pizza with Kit Kats. So
Yeah, they
that
jumped on
is,
the bandwagon to
yeah.
well, partly to get in on the joke. They knew that Nestle and the Kit Kat brand were making limonada de limones, making lemonade out of the situation. But they were showing it was really smart. They were both showing support for this rival or at least competitor brand, but also taking some of that good publicity for themselves.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course. And I said Nestlé.
Mm-hmm.
You say Nestlé?
Oh, Nestle. Yeah, that's another one of the, Nestle is how we say it in Espanol.
Yes.
But Nestle is how it's known.
Okay,
elsewhere.
Nestle, the big chocolate corporation, food corporation.
You can
'cause
say
they
Nestle.
do everything.
I've always known it as Nestle as well.
They did turn into, like, they did lose a lot of money, but at the
Sure.
same time, look at all the free advertising they got. Of
Yeah,
course.
it's almost like they got that value in advertisement, or even more, perhaps.
Exactly.
Free advertising.
So they made a lemon pie.
They made margaritas.
Yes, they made
lemons.
margaritas. So what is the origin of this expression?
Well, hacer limonada. It is, believe it or not a Spanish original. I'm sure the people listening to this episode right now, they've heard it. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
All right, it's the same. We try not to use expressions that have the equivalent.
That's right.
In English, but this was unmissable. We
It
needed
was
to
too
talk
good to
about
pass
the
up. Yes.
Kit Kat heist.
And it's interesting too, because so this is an example of an expression that is perfectly borrowed, like word for word. If we're getting really technical, it is known as a semantic calque. Calques. So like a copy.
Calco semántico, yes.
Calco semántico, that's right. Of the English expression, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. We borrowed it, we assimilated it, we made it our own, exactly word for word, because it's just too good, too elegant, simple but elegant, a lot of meaning. It's perfect.
Yes.
It didn't need to be changed. And I did learn, though, something about its origin because, of course, in researching this, something that I didn't know about the English expression. Perhaps some people listening to this today will know, but I didn't know that the expression was made famous by Dale Carnegie, one of the pioneers of the self-help books.
Yeah. I mean, I must confess, I've read his books, How to Make Friends and Influence People, and How to Stop Worrying.
And Enjoy Life.
Oh.
And this is the book where he popularized this expression. Now, a lot of people mistakenly give Mr. Carnegie all the credit for coming up with this phrase, but in fact, it had been in print for at least 50 years earlier, since the turn of the 20th century. There are examples of when life gives you lemons, make lemonade in print since like 1907. So Dale Carnegie did not invent it, but he did put it out into the popular culture and made it
popular. Yeah.
Popular.
I did it. That's funny. I read that book and I didn't remember that part about the lemonade. I do remember one of the advices he gives in that book. I always apply it, which is every time you're worrying about something, he says that things that worry us, of all the things that worry us, only 10% or 20%, a very small percentage end up happening.
Oh.
The majority of the things that worry us never happens. But he says, every time that something worries you, think, what's the worst that can happen? And it's usually not that bad, even in the worst. And if you have like a plan B for the worst that can happen, then that really, you make up that scenario in your mind, and that kind of calms you down.
That's pretty good advice.
Yeah, that was a good one. But also, si la vida te da limones, as limonada.
Yeah.
If you want to hear the entire expression in Spanish applied in conversation, or if you want to listen to the entire news with a lot of detail about the Kit Kat heist, we have all that in 100% Spanish in our show, newsinslowspanish.com.
That's right.
In the Latino version. So if you want to do that, or if you want to talk about this heist or any other news, we have this feature in our website called Rooms, where we allow subscribers to practice conversation in Spanish. And usually Renzo and I
we show up all the time.
Yeah, we show up all the time. So we can practice with you guys. If any of you is learning Spanish, we can practice conversation with you, and we can talk about good news.
And one of my favorite things that happens in Rooms is when one of our subscribers who listens to the show, News and Slow Spanish, and sometimes they listen to this too, just a Spanish phrase, they come and they use a phrase that they heard about through our show.
I love it.
And it's so satisfying.
Yes.
Yeah.
So You're invited. We'll see you in News Intro Spanish. We have a version from Spain, a version Latino, and there we have rooms to practice conversation with you.
Yeah, and keep making lemonade, everybody.
Adios.